Let me tell you something: you don't need approval to be anointed. You don't need a rich uncle, a fancy degree, or a seat at their table when God has already prepared a banquet in your wilderness. Your rejection was not a death sentence. It was redirection. Pain you felt, it wasn't punishment, it was preparation. Because sometimes very door that slams in your face is the same wall God will use to build your platform. You keep thinking you're behind because you didn't come from wealth, didn't grow up in the right zip code, didn't know the right people. But I came to tell you, favor breaks protocols. Favor doesn't check your resume. Favor doesn't care if they skipped you. Favor knows where to find you. Even if they forgot you, even if they dismissed you. There's a billionaire inside of you, but first you must be broken to be built. God uses the foolish things to confound the wise. He will raise up a no name with no budget, no back end, no blueprint, and blow the minds of those who said it couldn't be done. You may not have money. You have vision. You may not have connections, but you have conviction. And if you'll just move with what you've got, heaven will supply what you lack. Let me tell you something. The enemy didn't attack your finances. He attacked your confidence. He didn't destroy your relationships. He tried to destroy your identity. Because if he can keep you questioning yourself, doubting your worth, measuring your value by what people say, you'll bury the dream God gave you. Today, you rise up. Today, you stop apologizing for your oil. You stop trying to prove yourself to people who are committed to misunderstanding you. You stop shrinking to make others comfortable. You don't need money when you carry a mantle. You don't need clout when you walk in calling. So go ahead and build that business from your living room. Write the vision on sticky notes if you have to. Speak life over your ideas. Hustle in the hallway. Grind in the gap. And when you make it, because you will make it, don't forget to tell them, I didn't have money, but I had a word. I didn't have connections, but I had courage, and God did the rest. Let's get one thing straight from the start. Rejection is not the end of your story. It may feel like it, may look like it, but when God is writing the script, every no is laced with purpose. Every closed door is divinely timed. Every betrayal, every delay, every overlooked moment is working behind the scenes to shape something far greater than you could imagine. Rejection is not punishment, it's positioning. You may be standing in a season right now where the doors you thought would open didn't. You applied and got denied. You stretched out your heart and it was dismissed. You were faithful, but they walked away. You were ready, but the opportunity never came. And now you're standing in the hallway of heartbreak, wondering why it had to go down like this. Let me remind you, rejection is not your burial. It's your birthplace. The people who didn't call you back, the room you weren't invited into, the relationship that crumbled, the job that let you go, those were all part of the divine reroute. God didn't reject you. He redirected you. You were headed for what you thought was the answer, but he had something better. You were settling for good, and he was preparing great. You were reaching for approval, and he was calling you to authority. You see, people reject what they don't understand. They dismiss what doesn't fit their expectation, but what they fail to realize is that you carry something bigger than their capacity. You carry a vision that can't be contained in small places. You walk with oil they weren't ready to receive. You speak in a language only destiny can interpret, and sometimes God allows rejection so you don't plant yourself in a place too small for your purpose. If they had accepted you, you might have stayed there too long. If they had promoted you, you would have never stretched your potential. If they had applauded you, you might have forgotten who sent you. Rejection purifies your motives. It tests the weight of your calling, refines your resilience, and if you allow it, rejection will not shrink you. It will sharpen you. It will drive you into the secret place. It will force you to pray harder, dream bigger, and work with grit. It will strip away dependency on applause and anchor you in purpose. Sometimes God will close a door so loudly, so painfully, so unmistakably that there is no way you could stay there and still grow. Pain of that rejection becomes the wind beneath your wings. You wouldn't have taken the leap unless you were pushed. And now that you've been pushed, you're flying into levels you never thought possible. I want you to understand this. didn't reject you. They rejected the version of you they couldn't control. They rejected the threat of your growth. They rejected the mirror you held up to their complacency. But God saw you. God called you. He's leading you to a place where you won't just be tolerated, you'll be celebrated. That business you tried to launch and nobody supported. That idea you pitched and got laughed out of the room. That ministry you started and nobody showed up. Keep going. There will always be people who doubt you. There will always be systems that resist you. But let rejection be your motivation, not your grave. Every no should echo in your spirit as next opportunity. Every time they walk away, let that be your sign it's time to walk forward. You are not called to convince people. You're called to obey God. You are in a divine season of transition. And transitions feel like endings. They feel like loss. But in reality, they are the birth canal of new beginnings. Rejection is the tension before the breakthrough. It's the test before the testimony. It's the evidence that you were never supposed to blend in. You were born to break out. You are not rejected. You are redirected, repositioned, refocused. And this time, you're not building for applause. You're not building for attention. You're building with a deeper why, a deeper faith, a deeper fire. What you lost in that rejection, God is restoring in revelation. So stand tall, dry your tears. Lift your head and walk with confidence, not because everyone accepts you, but because you finally understand. You were never called to fit in. You were called to stand out. You were never created for comfort. You were crafted for impact. Let me talk to the ones who've been told they're not enough. The ones who've been disqualified not because they lacked purpose, but because they lacked provision. The ones who have the dream, the plan, the fire, the calling, but don't have the money, don't have the support, don't have the connections. This word is for you. Lack of resources does not mean lack of vision. You don't have to be rich to be called. You don't have to be connected to be chosen. God does not check your bank account before he places his hand on your life. He does not review your follower count before releasing his assignment over your name. He doesn't need your resources. He needs your yes. We live in a world that worships well, praises privilege, and elevates people based on who they know and what they have. Care enough, but when God breathes a vision into your spirit, that vision doesn't need human endorsement to live. It doesn't need a cosign to have credibility. Heaven backs what God births. When he gives you a vision, you are carrying something eternal, something holy, something unstoppable, and care enough. And even if you have to build it from your living room, even if you have to start it with nothing fake but grit and a notebook, you must move. Care enough. Stop waiting for the stars to align. Stop waiting for the funds to arrive. Stop waiting for the big break, the right investor, the magical open door. Enough. You've already been called. The green light has already been given. It's time to walk. Some of the most powerful people were never handed anything. They were frigid in the fires of obscurity. They were overlooked, underfunded, and care enough, and underestimated. But they dared to move anyway. They dared to step out when all they had was an idea and a prayer. They dared to begin when others said, care enough. That's impossible. You may not have the money, but you have vision. And if God gave you the vision, he'll give you the provision. Maybe not all at once. Maybe not in the way you expected, but you don't need all the answers to start. You don't need the blueprint to move. Care enough. Faith doesn't wait on clarity. It walks with courage. God specializes in working through underdogs. He delights in confounding the proud by using the humble. And care enough. He picks the least likely, not because they have everything together, but because he gets all the glory when the impossible becomes reality. Business you want to start. That ministry you've been dreaming about. That invention you sketched on the back of a receipt. And care enough. That community outreach you've been quietly planning for years. Don't let lack keep you from launching. Start with what you have. Enough. Move with what's in your hand. David didn't wait for a sword. He used a sling and a stone. And that little thing in your hand, and care enough. It might just be the very thing God will use to take down the giants in your way. The problem is we think we need to look successful before we become impactful. But real impact starts in the shadows, in the struggle, in the nights when nobody claps, in the days when everything feels too small. That's where character is built. That's where faith is forged. Stop despising your small beginnings. Stop comparing your chapter 1 to someone else's chapter 20. They may have the capital, but you got the capacity. They may have the platform, care enough, but you've got the purpose. They may have influence, but you've got integrity. And when God breathes on what's in your hands, nothing in hell can stop it. Care enough. Some of you are frustrated because your dream feels heavy, but your resources feel light. You've been asking, Lord, care enough. How can I carry this when I don't even have what I need? But here's the revelation. God gives you the vision first, so you can walk in obedience. Care enough. And Taihan, he releases the resources. That's why I have to keep moving. That's why you have to stay faithful. The money is coming. The people are coming. Care enough. The support is coming. But if you wait for it all to show up before you take one step, you'll never move. Faith moves first. Then favor follows. Every billionaire didn't start with billions. Every leader wasn't born on a stage. Every great move began in a quiet place. Sometimes broke, care enough, sometimes hidden, but always burning with conviction. And that fire inside of you, it's holy, it's heaven born, it's kingdom back. So fan the flame, speak the vision. Write the plan, work the dream. Even if you have to do it broke, even if you have to do it tired, even if you have to do it alone. This is the season where God is raising up unlikely visionaries, people who don't fit the mold, people who didn't grow up with privilege, care enough, people who've been counted out, but who accounted the cost, said yes anyway. Yeah. This is your time. This is your moment. Don't let lack lie to you. Care enough. Don't let small beginnings fool you. Don't let empty pockets silence you. Don't let rejection redirect your passion. Care enough. What God is about to do in your life will not follow the rules. It will not follow man-made systems, institutional hierarchies, or traditional timelines. Care enough. It will not bow to qualifications, societal expectations, or pedigree. Why? Because favor overrides protocol. When the hand of God is on your life. And care enough. It doesn't matter what seat you didn't get invited to, what school you didn't graduate from, what club you weren't accepted into. God's favor will take you where you're in, some can't. It will place you in rooms your background disqualifies you from. It will open doors that no network, no hustle, and no system could ever. God will bypass every line, every rule. Care enough. Every process they said you had to go through, and He'll set you right in the middle of what they said you could never have. While others are fighting for approval, favor will promote you without permission. While others are striving for position, favor will sit you in places you never applied for. Favor doesn't check protocols. It follows purpose. Look throughout Scripture, and you'll find a consistent theme. God specializes in violating protocol to accomplish His purpose. He promotes the unqualified. He chooses the unlikely. He elevates the forgotten. Why? Because His ways are not our ways. His plans don't conform to systems. They create new ones. Care enough. David wasn't even invited to the lineup when Samuel came to anoint a king. Everyone else looked the part, wore the right armor, and care enough, had the right build. But the oil didn't flow until David showed up. Favor waited on him. Protocol said he should have been dismissed. Favor said he was the one. They didn't include you in the conversation. They thought you were too young, too old, too quiet, too different, too radical, too rough around the edges. They said you don't fit the mold. You don't have the look. You don't have the connections. Care enough. But what they don't realize is you don't need their process when you have God's presence. Favor will find you in the field. Care enough. Favor will locate you in obscurity. Favor will call your name when hidden, when you're forgotten, when you're underestimated. And when favor finds you, every protocol that tried to keep you bound is broken. This world is obsessed with systems. Climb this, earn that, shake this hand, wait till your turn. And yes, structure has its place. Order is necessary. But never forget this: when God wants to move, care enough, He will override the structure to fulfill His strategy. There are people right now trying to make sense of your journey. They don't understand how you made it. Care enough, how you're still standing, how you came from nothing but walk like royalty. It's favor. Favor is why they passed over you, but still had to call you back. And care enough, favor why you didn't qualify on paper, but still got the promotion. Favor is why you walked through the fire, but didn't smell like smoke. Care enough, favor is why they closed the door, but you ended up in the room anyway. When you walk in favor, you don't need to force anything. And care enough, you don't need to manipulate. You don't need to compromise. You don't need to kiss up to systems that were never built with you in mind. Care enough, favor will speak for you when your voice is silenced. Favor will go ahead of you and shift the rules. Stop trying to fit into what God called you to change. Care enough. You were never meant to be accepted by everyone. You were never meant to be normal. Protocol wasn't designed for people with purpose like yours. Care enough. That's why it didn't work for you. That's why it couldn't hold you. You were never supposed to follow the pattern. You were called to break it. Care enough. You've been thinking that rejection was a setback, but it was really divine protection. God knew that if you got stuck trying to conform and you'd lose your fire, you'd shrink your calling. You'd settle for mediocrity. So he let the door slam shut, not to keep you up, but to redirect you to the path of favor. People can't stop favor. They can lie on you, delay you, try to discredit you. But what God has for you cannot be blocked, bought, or buried. Favor is the key that unlocks the next chapter. And no man-made system can rewrite the script God authored over your life. And favor doesn't just promote you, it preserves you. It surrounds you. It makes your enemies your footstool. It silences every lie, destroys every limitation, it reroutes every detour. When favor is on your life, care enough. Even protocol bows down before you build, before you brand, before you launch, before you lead. You must know who you are. You must be rooted before you rise. You must be clear in your identity before you step into your industry. Because if you step into your assignment with an unclear identity, pressures of performance will crush you. The applause for you, the critics will break you. The grind will bury you. And care enough, you end up performing for people instead of walking in purpose. You will build something big, but your soul will stay small. Care enough. Industry is the place where you function, but identity is the place where you live. If you don't know who you are, you'll allow what you do to define you. You'll chase platforms instead of purpose. You'll measure your worth by your followers, your titles, your profits. Care enough and your visibility, and lose yourself in the process. Too many people are in a rush to be seen before they're truly settled. Care enough. They're showing up in rooms they prayed for, but they're carrying a fragmented self. They've built brands, but they don't know their name. Care enough. They've created influence, but they're insecure when the lights go off. They're loud in the world, but lost in the mirror. They haven't care enough because they never took time to discover, who am I when no one's looking? Who am I when the mic is off? The emails stop and the applause dies down. If you let the world define you, the world will destroy you and you no longer serve expectations. One shift in culture, one failure, one rumor, and suddenly you question your entire existence. Why? Because you built everything on the sand of doing without anchoring yourself in the rock of being. You must know that you are a son, a daughter, and care enough, a purpose carrier, a vessel of glory, before you ever step into your industry. Why? Because when you're rooted in identity, you don't shift with seasons. When the industry changes, you're not afraid. When trends die, your voice remains. When doors close, care enough. You don't lose your mind because your worth isn't tied to outcomes. It's anchored in your origin. You're not here because of man's approval. And care enough. You were sent. You were chosen. You were called. Jesus didn't do a single miracle until he heard, "This is my beloved son in whom I am well pleased." Before the industry of ministry, he received the affirmation of identity. Care enough, not for what he had done, but simply for who he was. And if the Son of God needed identity before industry, how much more do we? Care enough. The enemy doesn't mind you being busy. He doesn't mind you building. What he fears is you becoming. He's not intimidated by your business. He's terrified that you'll discover your being. Because once you know who you are, you become undeniable. Care enough, unshackable, unbothered. The attacks don't work. The silence doesn't scare you. The stage doesn't seduce you. Because your identity is not rented. It's rooted. Some of you are tired, not because you're doing too much, but because you've lost yourself trying to become who they said you needed to be. You're wearing costumes. You're adapting your voice. You're mimicking movements. You've been so busy building an image that you've ignored your identity. You were never designed to be a product of your industry. You were created to be a presence within it. You are not a trend. You are timeless. You are not here to echo what already exists. You're here to introduce something the world hasn't seen yet. And the world doesn't need another imitation. It needs your authentic, healed, whole, God-breathed self. That's why the wilderness is necessary. That's why the hiding season is holy. Because in the quiet, in the stretching, in the unseen place, you begin to unlearn who they told you to be and discover who you've always been. The silence becomes sacred. The crushing becomes clarity. The delay becomes development. And when it's finally time to step out, you don't show up desperate for validation. You show up ready to serve. This is why identity must come first. Because industry is a loud, noisy, demanding place. If you don't know who you are, it will shape you into whatever sells. But when you're anchored in identity, you don't let culture define your calling. You don't measure success by attention. You don't sacrifice purpose for popularity. You understand that the most powerful person in any room is the one who knows who they are. And from that identity, you create, you build, you lead, you innovate. Not to prove anything, but to steward everything God has placed in you. Persistence and faith. You don't need to be the smartest, the wealthiest, the most connected, or the most popular. You need to be the one who refuses to quit. The one who keeps showing up when the crowd walks away. The one who still believes when nothing makes sense, because persistence and faith ignite destiny. Destiny does not unfold in comfort. It is not revealed in the realm of convenience. It is carved out of adversity, pressed through pain, and manifested through motion. God doesn't just use those who dream. He uses those who don't stop. There are people more talented than you, more educated, refined, but they lack the persistence. They gave up when it got hard. They folded under pressure. But you're still here. That's what separates the called from the chosen. Your refusal to quit is the spark that sets your destiny on fire. Faith is not just a feeling. Faith is a force. It is the invisible substance that calls things that are not as though they are. And when faith meets persistence, it becomes an unstoppable combination. Faith gives you vision. Persistence walks it out. Faith gives you hope. Persistence builds the bridge. Let me talk to the ones who've been in a long fight. The ones who've kept planting seed after seed with no harvest yet. The ones who are still faithful with little, still showing up in silence, still believing in secret. This word is for you. Don't you dare quit. Your persistence is stirring something in heaven. Your faith is moving mountains you can't even see. Your obedience is being recorded. Your discipline is not in vain. You may not see it yet, but your persistence is building pressure. And when pressure builds in the right places, something breaks, something releases, something shifts. And when that divine moment comes, what once resisted you will have no choice but to make way for you. The enemy doesn't fear your start. He fears your stamina. He doesn't care that you had a big dream last year. He wants to see if you'll still believe when it's year 5 and you haven't seen it yet. He wants to know if you'll still sow when the soil looks dry, if you'll still serve when no one claps, if you'll still praise when the promise hasn't manifested. Persistence is warfare. It is proof that your spirit is stronger than your circumstances, that you refuse to bow to what you see because you trust in what God said. Persistence says, this dream didn't start with man, and it won't die with man. God gave it, and I'm going to carry it to the finish. Delay is not denial. Just because it's taking longer doesn't mean it's not happening. Just because it hasn't manifested doesn't mean it's not maturing. God uses time to build tenacity. He uses pressure to sharpen purpose. He uses delay to reveal what's really in your heart. Anybody can start strong. Only the persistent finish. Only those with unshakable faith will see the fruit. Only those who endure the long nights, the dry seasons, unseen labor, those are the ones who break through into destiny. Abraham waited years for his promise. Joseph was thrown into a pit before he was placed in the palace. David was anointed long before he ever touched the throne. What separated them? They didn't quit. They didn't let bitterness bury their belief. They didn't let delay destroy their drive. You may be tired, but you're closer than you think. You may feel stuck, but the foundations are shaking. You may feel overlooked. Heaven has your name etched into destiny's scroll. And when the appointed time comes, what has been prepared in private will explode in public. Keep waking up and work in the vision. Keep trusting even when tears blur your sight. Keep believing even when doubt knocks at the door. Keep standing even when everything in you wants to sit down and settle, because every act of persistence is a strike against limitation. Every time you show up, you are pushing back against generational curses. Every time you press forward, you are building legacy. Every time you say yes, again, you are igniting something greater than you. You become a walking example of what faith looks like in motion. You become evidence that God keeps his promises. You become a testimony to others who thought it was too late, too hard, or too far.